Hey everyone, and welcome as we continue our study through the New Testament Gospels, looking at the 250 events in the life of Jesus. And today we're looking at Jesus visiting Martha and Mary at their house. And this story comes from Luke 10, verses 38 through 42. And so, as we look at this and read through this, we're going to go through it real quick here. We see Jesus going along, and he stays and visits with Martha and Mary. And this is just a short little snippet that comes across as we as Jesus is traveling, going through. And obviously um there's some background with this, and we're going to see this continue on as we go through these. But so in verse 38 it says, and Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem. They came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner that she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. But the Lord said to her, and I love the compassion you see in his voice here, my dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her. So it's just, again, like a short little story. One of the things I want to point out here that I didn't put in the notes with this study is that what I like about here, especially this is in Luke, and like I said, Luke likes to point out things, especially around women, is that Jesus is teaching. So he's as a rabbi, or as a teacher, right, which is the term that they use there. He is allowing a woman to sit at his feet and learn and listen. In that day, that wasn't allowed. And so I want to point that out because sometimes this is something that's overlooked, is that Jesus was allowing her to sit at his feet and listen to him as he taught. And again, this would have been frowned upon in this day and age, and so we want to look at that. But the one thing we see here is that both Mary and Martha both love Jesus, but on this occasion, right, um, they were both serving him. One was serving by listening, one was serving by trying to prepare a meal for him. But Martha, right, she thought Mary's style of serving was inferior to hers. She thought, you need to come help, tell her to come help me. This is the better way. She didn't realize what she was doing here is that in her desire to serve, she was actually neglecting her guest. He was teaching, he was showing, you know, um, compassion. He was allowing her to learn, which was not something that was allowed back then, and she missed that. She missed that, and so she didn't realize that she was neglecting her guest and what he was allowing because she was so focused on what she was trying to do. And so the question sometimes is, are you so busy doing things for Jesus that you're not spending any time with him? Right? Do you get so caught up in trying to do things, trying to serve, trying to do these types of things that you're not actually spending any time with him? So the one thing we got to make sure is that we don't let our service become self-serving, or that we don't get so caught up in it that it's not about Jesus anymore. And so Jesus, in this interaction, he didn't blame Martha for being concerned about what she was doing. Right? He didn't get upset at her. He just said this. She's found what's the important thing, right? And that there's only one thing worth being concerned about, and Martha's discovered it. So he's saying these other things just aren't worth getting that upset about. This is worth being concerned about. And so he was, you know, he was asking her to set priorities. You've got to set priorities here in service to Christ, right? It can degenerate into mere busy work if we're not careful. If we're not careful, and it gets rid of that devotion to God. And so we've got to make sure we're very careful when we're doing these things, when we're going through this, when we start to serve, that one, it doesn't become self-serving, right? That we don't think our service is better than other people's service. Like, well, look at me, I'm over here doing this. This person's over here just listening, right? Or this person's not doing as much as I am. We definitely need to make sure that we don't get caught up in that kind of behavior. And we definitely need to make sure that we take the time to stop and listen to God, listen to what he's saying, and understand what he's saying, because we can get so busy. Got caught in this. We can get so busy just serving that we forget who we're serving for, or why we're serving, and all those types of things. So it's just very, very important that we do this so we don't miss that message as we do that. So just to summarize real quick, one, I wanted to point out the fact that, you know, Jesus is allowing a woman to sit at his feet and learn. This was not something that was allowed back in that day, and so this is again, and it's Luke that points it out. Where Luke tends to point these kind of things out. We've got to make sure that we're serving for the right reason, serving for the right way, and that we don't get so busy in our service that we miss who we're supposed to be serving, and we don't overlook and actually forget the person that we're serving and doing that. As always, I appreciate everyone for watching these, for staying tuned to them, and continue to watch them and follow along. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to our channel yet, please go ahead and do so. We're going to continue to develop these type of videos and push out different lessons. And as always, I appreciate everyone for watching.